Yes, ma'am.
The Senate did not write, the Congress did not write this. It was a different committee that wrote this bill that was not connected.
Actually, my opponent says that he wrote most of this.
Oh,
He does, and he's read it all, and he wrote most of this and helped. Actually, Henry Waxman, the guy that's in charge of the light switch tax, cap and trade, he was a big writer of this. I personally do not believe that this has been written in 6 months, 7 months, whatever. I think this is something that there's some folks out there that have put this together over the course of some years. That's my opinion. I don't know that to be a fact, but just by what I've seen and read in there, I don't think that just happened overnight. I think the first part of February they could have said, hey, look, we wrote the bill, here it is. So. Yes, sir.
I had a question on the tax. They're projecting that it could be 8 or 9 trillion down the road, and the next generation, I don't know how we're ever going to even pay this. What are some ideas, or what are we going to do about that?
You know, that brings me to a point that right now we have obligations out there of $58 trillion. And if you divide that out, it's about $191,000 per American. And, you know, we continue to see all the pork coming out, swamp mice in California, you know, and they can call it what they will, because once they found out we knew it was swamp mice, they switched it over to something else to try to cover. But, you know, until we realize how serious this situation is, we're on a bubble, and I'm not trying to paint this big, huge, cloudy sky, but the fact of the matter is, 10 years ago, we would have 10 people there lining up to loan us money. Today, we've got 2. And that's a problem. What we need to do is we need to stop the spending. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. And I understand, don't get me wrong, I understand that we have to have some spending. But there's one thing that we call appropriate spending and inappropriate spending. And we need to have people in Washington, D.C. who can make those tough decisions. You know, and not everything's going to be popular, but the route we're going, this spending, I call it a shopping spree, because when you really break down, I'm sure some of the folks in the room have seen what some of this money's been spent on. I mean, it's out of control. That's all there is to it. A lot of these folks are out of touch. They have no clue whatsoever. I mean, my opponent votes, you know, 95% of the time with Nancy Pelosi and Harry Reid. That's just the way it is. What the 17th District needs, and I don't want to, you know what, I'm going to stop because I don't want to go into a rant. I want to get back to the healthcare thing, but we need to cut the spending. We need to, here's the thing that is really shocking is, everyone knows is that when you reduce taxes, that what happens is people will sell things. Sell land, stocks, bonds, whatever. It was proven back when taxes were cut before, it was the biggest influx of cash into our government in history. When we raise taxes way up, well, guess what? I'm not selling anything I own. I'm not going to pay extra 40% or 30% taxes on this. I'm going to wait till the next person comes in and gets it back down to where it's supposed to be. So we need to do things that are going to attract businesses in. Cap and trade, you know, same thing. That's the largest tax increase in the United States history. That's a fact. Plain and simple when you look at it. And I'm all for the environment. I've got a house that's very green, that's an R50 wall. Everything's efficient at my house. But I have a problem with taxing people. And then what's going to happen is by 2100, we're going to reduce the global climate by 0.4 degrees. I got an issue with that, you know. So, especially the folks that are on fixed incomes, older people, that's going to really crunch them. An average family of 4, it's going to cost them roughly $2,000 per year extra just in electricity. So, yes, sir. Yeah, and it's kind of like what I said is, it's what we have to be concerned about is what's not in the bill. That's the huge part.
No, I mean, it's not in the bill where it states you have to see a particular doctor.
Right. I think that the ideal plan that I see is no pre-existing, portability. You go to whatever doctor you want.
That's in the bill. That is in the bill. That's
Yeah.
a part of the reform.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a few things that are good. The biggest thing that I'm hearing as I'm cruising throughout the district is people just don't want the government. We've seen what the government does when they take something over. And I'm here to tell you, if they take this thing over, it's not gonna, it's already been proven that the public option can be run more cost effectively by insurance companies than the government. So
Where are these studies? Where is it improved?
I'll get your name when we get ready to go,
Okay.
and I'll send all the information
Okay.
to you. What we forget about is we're already funding the Medicare, Medicaid program. You know, our insurance premiums, the hospitals, you know, some of these places need to make some money. You know, and when they're getting 21 cents on a dollar, you know, that won't even turn the lights on at their facility. So what's happening is they're having to charge extra on people that have the insurance. You know, so we need to figure out a way to get that situation under control also. You know, and if the government takes over, are they going to be paying our hospitals 21 cents on the dollar? Because if that's the case, especially any facility out there that's for profit at all, for 21 cents on the dollar, they're not going to be able to stay open very, very long, and then we're going to have a huge access problem. So, yes, ma'am.
What are the positive aspects of the bill?
That's a good question. That at least we're trying to do something, but that's I haven't seen myself a whole lot of positive things in there. You know, basically what I've done is I've gone through and looked at, like, with the public option, the things that they're trying to push through, and the biggest problem with this bill is the government wants to control, plain and simple. And what the last thing we need as United States citizens is to have bureaucracy, the federal government, between me and my doctor. Plain and simple. I believe that that's wrong. I think that relationship should stay between my doctor and I.
So which parts would you keep? Can you think of any?
Not right off the top of my head. The parts that I would keep is the system that we have intact today, and then what I would do is I would go after tort reform. There's a lot of things we can do. The system that we have is not completely broken. You know, and it makes, what we have to understand is the definition of reform. Reform, Webster puts it something like to put or make better, not completely tear this thing down, and then here's the one that we've been working on. So I think what the best answer would be to do, and it has to be on a bipartisan. We have to have, and the Republicans can't just go in there and say no. You know, they've got to have another plan. They've got to have some alternatives, which now more and more alternatives are coming up, which is finally a good thing. So, yes, ma'am.
Since all the factories have gone to China or elsewhere, why don't we charge taxes on whatever comes back to the United States? If they're going to leave town and make money, why can't we make some when they send it back in?
And that's a good question, because, you know, they say when the borders flow freely, well, then the troops don't have to. So, you know, that brings me back to the cap and trade. You know, that the cap and trade, we think the economy is bad now, and I'm hoping that they got the message by people calling in, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, to where I think that thing's been shot down. But, you know, what to do there, we definitely need to even it up, but we need to do things. If cap and trade were to go through, that will make us so uncompetitive, because the American companies are going to have to pay all this extra tax, and the Chinese aren't. So what's going to happen is the John Deeres, all these big companies around are going to end up going to where they're going to be able to produce, and we already have a lot of companies that are doing that already. You know, the trade needs to be a little bit fairer than what it is now.
Yeah, but didn't our own government pay these guys to move over to the foreign countries?
Yeah, there's a little bit of that going on.
And then they tried this NAFTA stuff that's really not working. Everybody wants to go world economy instead of U.S. economy.
That is correct.